Have you ever looked at a map of Indonesia and wondered how many extraordinary places remain hidden beyond the world's attention? Places whose stories are not written by skyscrapers or crowded streets, but by the strength of their people, the richness of their land, and the legacy of generations who refuse to let their identity disappear. Welcome to Bolaang Mongondow, one of the largest regencies in North Sulawesi, Indonesia. A land where history stretches far beyond administrative boundaries, a land where culture is not merely remembered, but lived every single day. Here, mountains guard ancient traditions, fertile plains feed thousands of families, and every village carries a chapter of a story that has endured for centuries. This is not simply another regency on the map of Indonesia, it is the ancestral homeland of the Mongondow people, a community whose identity has survived political change, regional expansion, and the relentless passage of time. While many places measure their success through modern skylines, Bolaang Mongondow measures its greatness through resilience, heritage, and the enduring spirit of its people. Located in the western part of North Sulawesi province, Bolaang Mongondow covers an expansive territory that has long served as one of the region's most important agricultural centers. Its capital, Lolac, stands as the administrative heart of the regency, connecting communities that have shared the same cultural roots for generations. As of the middle of 2025, Bolaang Mongondow was home to approximately 258,500 people. Behind that number lies a vibrant society shaped by family values, local traditions, and a deep respect for nature. The majority of the population belongs to the Mongondow ethnic group, whose language remains the mother tongue of many indigenous residents. It is more than a means of communication. It is a living archive that preserves stories, wisdom, customs, and a worldview passed down through countless generations. Language carries memory. Every word spoken in Mongondow reflects centuries of experience, from the cultivation of fertile lands to the celebration of community traditions. In a rapidly changing world where many indigenous languages face the threat of extinction, the continued use of the Mongondow language stands as a remarkable testament to cultural endurance. Yet the Bolaang Mongondow we know today represents only a portion of its historical territory. Over the past several decades, this vast region has undergone significant administrative transformation. As populations grew and development expanded, the original regency was divided into several new autonomous regions to improve governance and public services. In 2007, two new administrative areas emerged from its territory. The first was Kota Mabagu, which became an independent city. The second was North Bolaang Mongondow Regency, extending public administration to communities in the northern reaches of the region. Only 1 year later, another major transformation followed. In 2008, two additional regencies were established. East Bolaang Mongondow and South Bolaang Mongondow became independent administrative regions, each developing its own government while continuing to share the same historical and cultural roots. For many regions, territorial division can weaken identity, but for Bolaang Mongondow, the opposite has happened. Although administrative boundaries have changed, history cannot be divided. The people continue to share the same ancestral heritage, the same cultural traditions, the same historical memory, the same pride in being part of the greater Mongondow civilization. This enduring unity reminds us that true identity is never determined by political borders. It lives in language, customs, values, and the collective memory carried from one generation to the next. The story of Bolaang Mongondow is therefore not a story of fragmentation. It is a story of growth. Each new regency represents another branch growing from the same ancient tree, expanding opportunities while remaining deeply connected to its roots. That philosophy is beautifully reflected in one of the region's most meaningful symbols, its official coat of arms. Every element within the emblem tells a story. Every color carries a message. Every shape represents an ideal that the people continue to uphold. At first glance, the emblem appears as an artistic composition, but to those who understand its meaning, it becomes a visual history book that speaks without words. At its center stands a perfectly balanced five-sided figure representing Pancasila, the philosophical foundation of the Republic of Indonesia. This symbolizes that Bolaang Mongondow is an inseparable part of the nation while maintaining its own distinct cultural identity. Supporting this central figure is a heart-shaped foundation, symbolizing the source of life itself. This is not merely an artistic design. It represents the belief that Bolaang Mongondow serves as one of North Sulawesi's life-sustaining regions, especially through its abundant agricultural production. Rice, corn, coconut, coffee, cloves, timber, and countless other natural resources have long nourished both local communities and neighboring regions. The heart also reflects an extraordinary chapter of geological history. Long before modern settlements flourished, much of the Bolaang Mongondow landscape was believed to have been an ancient lake. Over countless generations, nature transformed that vast body of water into fertile plains, capable of sustaining agriculture on a remarkable scale. The emblem's blue background honors both this geological past and the unwavering loyalty of the people toward their homeland. Few symbols capture history and hope so elegantly in a single color. Surrounding the emblem are two stalks of rice, one green and one golden yellow. Together, they proclaim Bolaang Mongondow's long-standing reputation as one of North Sulawesi's most important rice-producing regions. Every grain represents more than food. It represents hard work before sunrise, farmers who endure changing seasons, families whose livelihoods depend upon the land, generations who transformed fertile soil into prosperity through perseverance rather than privilege. The rice stalks also preserve an important historical date. Their arrangement commemorates the 23rd of March, the day Bolaang Mongondow officially gained the authority to govern its own domestic affairs under Government Regulation No. 24 of 1954. For the people of Bolaang Mongondow, this date symbolizes more than administrative recognition. It marks a defining moment in the journey towards self-determination, local leadership, and regional progress. And that journey continues today. The emblem reveals even deeper layers of meaning through two timeless symbols that stand proudly at its center, a spear and a shield. Across civilizations, these objects have represented courage and protection. In Bolaang Mongondow, they carry an even greater significance. The spear and shield honor the patriotism of the Mongondow people and celebrate the cultural unity that once connected the historic kingdoms of Bolaang, Bolaang Uki, Bintauna, and the greater Kaidipang region. Although each possessed its own leadership and local traditions, they were bound together by shared ancestry, mutual respect, and a common cultural identity. These symbols remind every generation that strength is never measured solely by military power. True strength lies in unity. A community that stands together can withstand challenges that would overwhelm individuals standing alone. The deep reddish color of the spear and shield, traditionally known as Ween Rood, symbolizes courage, vitality, and the dynamic spirit that has defined the people throughout history. It reflects the determination to move forward without forgetting the sacrifices made by those who came before. Above these powerful symbols shines a golden star, simple in appearance yet profound in meaning. The star represents faith in the Almighty God, affirming that spiritual values have always been an essential foundation of life in Bolaang Mongondow. Throughout generations, religious belief has guided families, strengthened communities, and inspired acts of compassion, honesty, and perseverance. It serves as a reminder that material wealth alone can never define a civilization. The greatest prosperity begins with integrity. Beneath the emblem stretches a golden ribbon bearing the name Bolaang Mongondow. Gold has long symbolized glory, dignity, and enduring achievement. Here, it reflects the hopes and aspirations of an entire region, a vision of continuous progress while remaining faithful to its cultural heritage. Even the colors chosen for the emblem tell an extraordinary story. Golden yellow represents the region's valuable mineral resources, particularly sulfur and gold, both of which have contributed to the area's economic importance for generations. Dark green symbolizes the remarkable fertility of the land. This is a landscape blessed with rich volcanic soil, abundant rainfall, and favorable conditions for agriculture. Rice fields stretch across the plains, while coconut plantations, coffee farms, clove gardens, and forests provide livelihoods for thousands of families. Nature has always been one of Bolaang Mongondow's greatest gifts, but nature alone is never enough. It is the dedication of its people that transforms fertile land into opportunity. The black lettering of the Regency's name represents perseverance and resilience. These are qualities that cannot be mined from the earth or harvested from fields. They are forged through hardship. They emerge from communities that continue working through uncertainty, adapting to change while preserving their traditions. Finally, the white elements throughout the emblem symbolize purity. Purity of intention, purity of leadership, purity of hope for future generations. Together, every color, every symbol, and every shape forms more than an official insignia. It forms a declaration of identity. It tells the world that Bolaang Mongondow is not merely defined by geography, but by values. Values rooted in faith, strength, unity, prosperity, and unwavering determination. These principles have guided the region through decades of transformation. Administrative borders may have changed, new regencies may have emerged, governments may have evolved, yet the soul of Bolaang Mongondow remains remarkably constant. Its greatest wealth has never been measured only by its natural resources. It lives within its people. Walk through its villages and you will encounter communities where traditions are still respected, where elders continue passing down stories that never appear in textbooks, and where cultural ceremonies preserve memories reaching back hundreds of years. Every generation becomes both a guardian and a storyteller. Children inherit more than family names. They inherit responsibility. Responsibility to protect a language that carries ancestral wisdom. Responsibility to preserve customs that define who they are. Responsibility to ensure that modernization never erases identity. This balance between tradition and progress has become one of Bolaang Mongondow's defining characteristics. Roads become wider, schools become better, technology reaches even remote communities. Economic opportunities continue to expand, yet beneath every step toward the future lies a profound respect for the past. That is what makes this region truly remarkable. Development does not require abandoning heritage. Progress does not demand forgetting one's roots. Instead, the two can move forward together, strengthening one another. The fertile plains continue producing food that supports countless households across North Sulawesi. The forests continue protecting biodiversity that has evolved over thousands of years. The rivers continue sustaining agriculture and daily life. The mountains continue standing as silent witnesses to every chapter of history. Generation after generation has looked upon the same landscapes, different dreams, different challenges, different eras, yet always the same homeland. For visitors, Bolaang Mongondow offers breathtaking scenery and authentic cultural experiences. For historians, it offers a fascinating journey through the evolution of regional governance and indigenous civilization. For anthropologists, It preserves valuable traditions that enrich Indonesia's extraordinary cultural diversity. For Indonesia itself, Bolaang Mongondow represents something even greater. It is proof that the nation's true strength is found not only in its largest cities, but also in regions where culture, agriculture, history, and community continue to flourish side by side. Every corner of this land whispers a simple but timeless message. A civilization becomes truly great, not because it is the loudest, not because it is the richest, not because it receives the most attention. It becomes great because its people remember who they are, honor where they came from, and possess the courage to build a better future without abandoning the values that shape them. That is the enduring legacy of Bolaang Mongondow, a land of fertile earth, a land of resilient people, a land where history still breathes, and a land whose greatest story is far from over. The future of Bolaang Mongondow is still being written. Every sunrise over its mountains marks the beginning of another chapter. Every harvest gathered from its fertile fields reflects generations of knowledge, patience, and determination. Every child who learns the Mongondow language carries forward a legacy that no monument could ever fully capture. This is how civilizations endure, not through stone alone, not through grand buildings, but through people who choose to remember. In today's rapidly changing world, countless communities face the difficult challenge of preserving their identity while embracing modernization. Ancient traditions disappear, indigenous languages fade, cultural practices that survived for centuries can vanish within a single generation. Bolaang Mongondow stands as a powerful reminder that another path is possible. A community can embrace education without abandoning tradition. It can welcome innovation without forgetting its history. It can build for tomorrow while honoring yesterday. That balance is one of its greatest achievements. Across Indonesia, Bolaang Mongondow has earned recognition as one of North Sulawesi's most important agricultural regions. Its fertile landscape has long produced rice, corn, coconuts, coffee, cloves, and many other valuable crops that contribute to regional food security and economic development. Agriculture here is not simply an occupation, it is a way of life. Long before modern machinery arrived, generations of farmers learned to understand the rhythm of nature. They observed the changing seasons, they studied the soil, they respected the forests that protected their water sources. They recognized that prosperity comes not from taking endlessly from nature, but from living in harmony with it. That wisdom remains just as relevant today as it was centuries ago. As climate change, environmental degradation, and food security become global concerns, regions like Bolaang Mongondow remind the world that sustainable agriculture begins with respect for the land itself. Nature is not merely a resource, it is a partner. Protect it and it will continue to provide. Neglect it and future generations will inherit only scarcity. This philosophy extends beyond farming. It shapes the character of the people. Resilience, patience, cooperation, gratitude. These are values cultivated not only in classrooms but in rice fields, family homes, and community traditions. They cannot be measured by statistics, yet they define the true wealth of a society. Today, infrastructure continues to improve. Transportation networks connect communities more efficiently. Educational opportunities continue to expand. Healthcare services reach more families. Local businesses create new opportunities for economic growth. Tourism also holds tremendous potential. Visitors who journey through Bolaang Mongondow discover landscapes that remain remarkably unspoiled. Rolling green hills, vast agricultural plains, rivers that carve their way through valleys, dense tropical forests filled with extraordinary biodiversity. Quiet villages where hospitality is offered not as a service, but as a tradition. These experiences cannot be manufactured. They are authentic because they have been preserved through generations of care. But perhaps the greatest attraction is not a destination, it is the people themselves. Communities where respect for elders remains deeply rooted, where neighbours continue helping one another during times of celebration and hardship, where culture is practiced naturally rather than performed for an audience. These human connections are becoming increasingly rare in an age dominated by speed and technology. That is why places like Bolaang Mongondow matter. They remind us that progress should never come at the cost of humanity. Indonesia is often celebrated for its breathtaking beaches, towering volcanoes, and spectacular islands. Yet the country's greatest treasure has always been something even more valuable: its people, its cultures, its languages, its traditions. Bolaang Mongondow is one shining example of that extraordinary diversity. Every village adds another thread to the vast tapestry of Indonesian civilization. Every tradition enriches the nation's identity. Every generation that preserves its heritage strengthens the future of the Republic itself. The story of Bolaang Mongondow is therefore much larger than one regency. It is the story of Indonesia. A nation built not by uniformity, but by diversity. A nation united not because everyone is the same, but because countless cultures choose to stand together under one flag while preserving their own unique identities. This remarkable harmony has become one of Indonesia's defining strengths. From Aceh to Papua, from the highlands to the coast, from bustling metropolitan cities to quiet rural communities. Every region contributes something irreplaceable to the nation. Bolaang Mongondow contributes resilience. It contributes agricultural abundance. It contributes cultural richness. It contributes a legacy that continues to inspire future generations. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson this land has to offer. True greatness is not always found in places that dominate international headlines. Sometimes it is discovered in communities where people quietly dedicate themselves to preserving their heritage, cultivating their land, educating their children, and building a better future one generation at a time. Their names may not always appear in history books. Their achievements may not trend across social media. Yet without communities like these, nations cannot endure. Because every great country is built upon strong local communities. Every national success begins with ordinary people performing extraordinary acts of dedication every single day. As the sun sets beyond the mountains of Bolaang Mongondow, it illuminates more than fields and forests. It shines upon centuries of perseverance, upon traditions that continue to live, upon families whose hopes remain firmly rooted in this remarkable land, and upon a future filled with possibility. So when you hear the name Bolaang Mongondow, do not think only of a place on a map. Think of a homeland where history and hope walk side by side. Think of a people whose identity has remained unshaken through generations of change. Think of a land that continues to nourish both body and spirit, because long after statistics are updated, borders are redrawn, and generations pass into history, the true legacy of Bolaang Mongondow will remain unchanged. It will live in every story passed from parent to child, in every harvest gathered from its fertile soil, in every word spoken in the Mongondow language, in every act of courage, unity, and faith, and in every person who proudly calls this extraordinary land home. This is Bolaang Mongondow, a land shaped by history, strengthened by its people, blessed by nature, guided by faith, and destined to inspire generations yet to come. But even after telling its history, describing its symbols, and celebrating its people, one important question still remains. Why should the world care about Bolaang Mongondow? The answer is surprisingly simple. Because places like this remind humanity of what truly matters. In an era where success is often measured by skyscrapers, economic rankings, and digital influence, Bolaang Mongondow offers a different definition of greatness. Here, wealth is measured by fertile land that continues to feed generations. Strength is measured by communities that remain united despite decades of change. Progress is measured not only by new roads and modern buildings, but by the ability to protect traditions while embracing the future. This is a lesson that reaches far beyond the borders of North Sulawesi. It is a lesson for the world. Many civilizations throughout history disappeared because they forgot who they were. Languages vanished, customs were abandoned, sacred traditions became nothing more than museum exhibits. Communities lost the very identity that once made them unique. Bolaang Mongondow has chosen a different path. Its people understand that history is not a burden, it is a foundation. Culture is not an obstacle to development, it is the very soul that gives development meaning. This philosophy can be seen in everyday life. Families continue teaching traditional values to their children. Communities preserve ceremonies that strengthen social bonds. Local wisdom continues guiding the relationship between people and nature. These are not relics of the past. They are living principles that continue shaping the future. The surrounding landscapes reinforce this timeless connection. Morning mist slowly rises above the valleys. Golden sunlight touches endless rice fields. Gentle rivers continue flowing through fertile plains that have sustained life for countless generations. Towering hills stand silently, watching over villages where traditions remain deeply respected. Nature and humanity exist here in remarkable harmony. That harmony did not happen by accident. It was built through patience, through wisdom, through generations of understanding that prosperity must never come at the expense of the environment. Long before sustainability became a global conversation, communities in regions like Bolaang Mongondow already understood a simple truth. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. Every forest protected today becomes clean water tomorrow. Every fertile field preserved today becomes food for future generations. Every tradition safeguarded today becomes an inheritance for children who have not yet been born. This way of thinking represents one of Bolaang Mongondow's greatest contributions to modern society. As the world searches for sustainable solutions to environmental challenges, food security, and cultural preservation, places like this quietly demonstrate that many answers have existed for generations. Sometimes the future can only be built by learning from the past. That is why Bolaang Mongondow deserves recognition not only as one of North Sulawesi's largest regencies, but also as a living example of resilience, cultural continuity, and responsible stewardship of the land. Its story proves that development is most meaningful when it benefits people without erasing identity. Its history proves that political boundaries may change, but cultural roots can remain unshaken. Its people prove that true progress begins with character. And perhaps this is the greatest legacy of all. A child born in Bolaang Mongondow today inherits far more than a birthplace. They inherit the language of their ancestors. They inherit the courage of generations who overcame countless challenges. They inherit fertile land that has provided life for centuries. They inherit traditions that teach respect, humility, unity, and perseverance. Most importantly, they inherit responsibility. The responsibility to preserve what previous generations protected with unwavering dedication. The responsibility to carry their heritage into a future filled with new opportunities and new challenges. Every generation writes a new chapter. Some build schools, some cultivate the land, some preserve culture, some create innovations, others inspire through leadership and service. Each contribution, no matter how small, becomes part of a much larger story. That story continues to unfold every single day across the villages, towns, and communities of Bolaang Mongondow. It is written by teachers who educate tomorrow's leaders, by farmers who ensure food reaches every table, by entrepreneurs creating opportunities for local families, by community elders who continue passing down priceless wisdom, by young people who dream of achieving great things without ever forgetting where they came from. This is how civilizations endure, not through monuments alone, not through wealth alone, but through ordinary people who choose to protect extraordinary values. One day, new generations will look back on this moment. They will remember not only the buildings that were constructed or the roads that were paved. They will remember whether their ancestors had the courage to preserve their identity while building a brighter future. If they do, Bolaang Mongondow's greatest achievement will never be measured by statistics or administrative records. It will be measured by something far more meaningful: a culture that continues to live, a language that continues to be spoken, a homeland that continues to inspire, and a people who continue proving that the strongest roots produce the brightest future. This is more than the story of a regency. It is the story of endurance, the story of heritage, the story of hope. It is the story of Bolaang Mongondow, a place where the past is honoured, the present is embraced, and the future is built with unwavering faith, enduring unity, and limitless determination. May its story continue to echo across Indonesia and beyond, inspiring the world to remember that the greatest civilizations are not always the loudest. They are the ones that never forget who they are.